Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. As Jess said, you guys don't want to listen to me and Trish talk the entire time. We want to hear from you guys. I mean, you got those of you guys that have attended AVTE, you know, kind of the best ideas come from group discussions, you know, whether it be, you know, our various roundtables or just sitting there, you know, at meals talking to one another. So we want to hear from you. We wanted to facilitate this opportunity for everybody to kind of pick each other's brains on how, you know, how you guys are utilizing VetTechPrep in your program. Some of you guys also sent us some questions in the beginning, so we have that printed out also. And we have our very special guest star today. We have Miss Vicky from VetTechPrep, so she can answer more of those specific questions that you guys have about their program.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, and she's not on camera because she's in her car.
So Jen, do you want me to start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So this idea came about because we were watching the Facebook page and a lot of you had questions about what others were doing in regards to VetTechPrep. There's lots of prep things out there, but you guys were specifically asking about this one. So we put this roundtable together. My idea was a little bit ambitious, thinking we could do it in December, but so silly. We can't do anything in December. So, but we got it as quick as we could put together. And then we got Vicki on board to answer any questions that you may have. So I'll just start with how we're utilizing it within our program. Now, mind you, we have a campus-based program and a distance-based program. So, but we use it for all students and we embed it into our final work practicum course. So they're taking it this semester that they graduate. It includes, they have to do work practicum hours too, but it includes assignments throughout the semester that they have to do. And actually what we do is they are graded based on the number of questions that they answer. They're required to answer different domains per week, and they're required to answer every question in that domain that week. So some of the domains that are bigger, they're split into 2 weeks. But again, if they don't answer all the questions during that week, they will lose points for that assignment. In addition, we do a time test at the end of the semester. And we don't currently, we've had discussions about making that a graded assignment. If they don't pass it, they don't pass the course. We have not gone to that extent yet. Basically, we're utilizing it to do some remediation with those students or to give them more guidance, offer them suggestions for other prep programs if they score. Our bench line right now is a 75% on that timed exam. If they don't score 75%, then they meet with me. We do some remediation. We're using the data that is available through VetTechPrep to find out where that remediation needs to be. So it does give the instructors feedback on how those students are scoring per domain and per large versus small animals in those domains. So it's really, really helpful information for us to help direct them better. And then we are using the 90-day subscription. Yes, I think that's right, Vicki. We're using the 90-day subscription. And
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and we have that paid through a Perkins grant. So the students do not pay for that. We have them enrolled at the end of the first week of classes, and VetTechPrep is super helpful with that. The instructor emails them a list, they get them enrolled, and then they activate their accounts. And then the college pays through that grant directly to VetTechPrep. So that's how we're utilizing it. Jen, I know you were doing some things a little bit differently.
Yeah, so I'm currently in a new role. If you guys hadn't heard, I've moved on from Pima and I'm at Appalachian State now. So I can't speak in regards to App State yet because we're still building our program. But at Pima, how I utilized it was they had a 60-day subscription that was included in their tuition. So it was rolled into their tuition. I did not make it mandatory, although I know other other ones from our campuses were utilizing as a mandatory assignment, like kind of like how Trish was doing. But what I did is when these guys came to exit and graduate, and then and I also did it when I interview them as well, is I really just pushed the product. And I would joke with them saying, I know I sound like a paid spokesperson. I am not a paid spokesperson, but I just so wholeheartedly believe in VetTechPrep that I just strongly encourage these guys to sign up for it. And then I would keep hounding them because, that's our role as programs director, is to just, harass them mercilessly so that they pass their VTNE. But I would just, continually remind them this was included in your tuition. You get 60 days included. All of my students, it was weird. I did like an informal study on it. All of my students that did the full 60 days in its entirety and, didn't peter out after 2 or 3 weeks, but did the full, all the questions and everything, I had 100% pass rate. The ones that did not do it in their entirety all fail the VTNE. So that's why I said I just so strongly believe in it, that I really do think it makes a difference. And even students that were weaker academically, that I was really worried about, when they did that and utilized that as their main study tool, those guys even passed the VTNE. So it's a really, really good product. All right, so enough from me and Trish. How about you guys? So again, if you guys want to share how you're utilizing it, because I think everybody's probably doing everything a little bit differently, just go ahead and using the chat, you can raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead and we'll call on you. And it might take us a minute because we have to scroll through like 3 screens.
Sean did ask, is the suggested study plan that VetTech offers beneficial to use? We don't currently use that for our program because we created our own assignment list, but I've heard from other students prior to us using VetTechPrep that study calendar was very useful for them to keep them on track to get them ready. Another thing that VetTechPrep offers for our students is if they completed the whole program and their subscription will run out at the end of the semester, but they will offer them a 50% discount for a renewal prior to them taking their exam. So I always recommend the students do a 45-day renewal right before they take that exam so that they get just more, the more questions they can answer, the more help they get is going to be better. And I will say that we have seen our VTNA scores go up anywhere from 5 to 10% per testing cycle.
Katrina, I cannot talk today. Katrina had a question. Vicki, you'd probably be the best person to answer this. Can you give a quick response onto how VetTechPrep is laid out?
Sure. I read that as well. So VetTechPrep offers, we are about a little over 3,000 questions, about 1,400 in our exam mode and about 1,500 plus or minus in our practice mode. The way the program works is whether the student answers the question correctly or incorrectly, in the practice mode, they're going to get a detailed answer explanation. So they're learning the content behind the questions. If they answer the question incorrectly, it's recycled back to them, and they'll be able to answer that question again in a different, the answer choices will be different. Once they go on to the timed exam mode, where we have, again, plus or minus 1,400 questions. And I say plus or minus because being that we're online, we're able to remove questions, add questions. The veterinary field, as we all know, is a ever-changing field. So we're able to alter our content as needed. But the exam mode sets your students up against a clock. So it helps them with time management. They can answer any questions. They can ask from anywhere from 5 questions in 5 minutes to 60 questions in 60 minutes. And then we also have what's called a full exam, where the students can answer 170 questions in 3 hours. So it gives them a little bit of a variety of everything, so they can sit, again, try to appropriately manage their time, whether they're answering a medical math question, or, again, how much time they need to spend on certain questions. And then something we offer exclusively to schools that purchase on behalf of their students, which Trish was talking a little bit about, is our readiness exam. And the readiness exam is 170 questions, all weighted for the nine domains of the VTE. So I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but it's like 9% laboratory, 10% anesthesia, so on and so forth. So on the full, on the readiness exam, all of those domains fit the fit what the VTE is going to ask your students. So 150 of those questions are weighted that way, and then 20 questions are quote unquote filler questions, and those VetTechPrep, where the other 150 are specifically written for these readiness exams. Your students will not have seen these questions in the VetTechPrep program.
Are you getting, one of the questions is, Vicki, are they getting you guys getting the questions from like the AAVSB books, or what sources are you guys using for your questions?
We're getting them from a little bit of everywhere. They're not specifically from those books that are recommended from the AAVSB. We're trying to incorporate those a little bit more. We have a list of references on our homepage, and all of our questions are written specifically by veterinarians, specialists, or veterinary technicians that are in the field, registered and in the field. None of our questions are taken from old exam or anything like that. We really encourage students not to give us any feedback on specific questions. At the end of the test, give them a survey, which we ask, where are we lacking? Where do you need more help? That kind of thing. And we try to avoid them giving any insider information because we certainly don't want that. We just want to make sure we're covering the 9 domains as we should.
There's a question about the Perkins, about paying for Perkins, and our Perkins grant is an ongoing grant. It's something that's at the top of our college's list, and it gets renewed every year. So in the same with Recover, we just started doing Recover, but it's an ongoing certification that the college is supporting through Perkins grants. And Perkins, our college allows for anything that has to do with exam prep to be put in as Perkins, and then any additional certification students can go in through Perkins. So that's how we're currently funding this. And that's been, I think we've been 5 years now going through Perkins. So it's a good system. If you are a public university, Perkins is definitely your friend.
Does anybody have any tips in regards to someone's running it, having the students are on their internships during the time that they're utilizing VetTechPrep? They're purchasing 2 prep exams for each student. Any ideas on how to run it while they're on their intern or externship?
I saw a hand. Janet, yeah?
Yeah, I can say, we purchase it 90 days prior to them being able to sit for the exam. So I like Trish's idea of our students are out for an 8-week internship before they graduate. So the last 8 weeks. So in March, they leave us for 8 weeks. And we kind of have given it to our students as a prep on their own. So it's up to them to do it. I have some students that do 100% of it. I have some students that don't do it. And unfortunately, then we're out the money because we pay for it out of our budget right now. I thought I checked with Perkins. Perkins told me they couldn't do it, but I'm going to be going back, Trish, and asking Perkins why they can't. But I like Trish's idea that I'd like to have my students start it while they're out on the internship. It has helped our pass rate, though. My pass rate right now, I have a small class because we're a new college, but I'm pretty happy with my last class who did it, and my pass rate's a lot better.
Yeah, we decided to embed it into the course to hold students accountable, because we know that if they're not held accountable, the good students are going to do it, and those are probably the ones that are going to pass the exam anyway. And the lazy students aren't going to do it, and those are the ones who are going to fail the exam. So we tie it to their final course. So it's not, you know, if they don't pass that exam, it's not like they'll fail the course, but if they don't do the questions, they will not pass the course.
We've got Stacy raised her hand.
Yeah, I was going to share that we used to, for our full-time students, we would purchase it for them. We have a grant that will pay for it. And we found, even though we gave it to them for free, students were not touching it and they weren't passing the boards. So last year we started wrapping it into our part-time program, into the preceptorship, and it worked really well. And our part-time students had a higher pass rate than our full-time students this past cycle. So we're going to do the same thing with our full-time students this year. And what we do is, it is part of the preceptorship or internship course. I'm not on that course, so I can't give you all the details, but we do have it wrapped in that if they don't meet the benchmarks, they will not pass the course and be successful in the program. They won't graduate from it. So we believe that strongly in VetTechPrep and preparing the students for the boards. We did a 90-day subscription for the part-time students. So they were on their own there's a 3-month gap between when they graduate and when they can sit for the boards. So they were on their own to continue that subscription if they wanted to. We are trying a 6-month subscription for our full-time students this year. So they'll have 3 months completing, I believe it's going to be 75 to 80% of the program while they are still our students, and we can oversee their progress. And then they'll still have another 3 months to complete the rest of the program before the boards.
Awesome.
We did have a question on accessibility. Vicki, are you able to read that? Because I think that's an important topic. Did we lose Vicki?
Oh, no.
She was going in and out. I think her connection's not that great. She's not currently here. No.
Okay.
So we'll have to get an answer on accessibilities directly from her. We have not had a problem with accessibilities, but we haven't had somebody who needed a reader or anything like that. And I know one of the other questions we had talked about was Spanish for those guys specifically down in Puerto Rico and all. So maybe if she gets back on, we can ask her those. If not, we can maybe get an answer from her and post it for everyone. Brianna posted about students complain working full-time externship and then being required to do VetTechPrep, says it's too much for them to do. It's mobile ready. So, I mean, my students are sitting, I see them on their phones doing it during lunchtime. So, you know, if they tell me they do it when they're driving in their car, when they're stopped at stoplights. I don't condone that. But because it's so mobile ready that they can answer those questions, I, of course, would not suggest that for the time test, but they can certainly get through a ton of questions that way.
One of the questions, and it kind of also came up, incorporating VetTechPrep into their final courses. And then one of the questions that came through earlier was, can a VetTechPrep course receive course credit or be integrated into a course for credit? And I think if you integrate it into your course content, then you could, you know, like kind of like how Trish is doing, and they have a certain amount they have to complete, then they would obviously be getting credit, not for actual VetTechPrep, but for doing the content.
The child didn't feed the dog.
No, sorry. It's a golden retriever. She's very hungry.
John asked about having them complete VetTechPrep at the end of April. So ours runs for it's a 90-day subscription. So it's 3 months, but our semester is 4 months. So typically we don't start our students on it until the second week of class, and then they finish prior to the end of class. So they would finish for example, this semester, these guys would finish mid-April and then not take the test until July. So we do offer them, they do get the half off subscription if they want to renew, but I also give them all of the resources for the different VetPrep sources out there. So I know Steve's here, that's one of them, so Zuku, and there's some others out there. I usually don't necessarily recommend the books simply because it's not interactive, and this group of students in the last couple of years wants that interaction. So I always recommend things that have interaction, and direct answers and things like that. So, because that's seemingly what keeps them motivated.
And I think we got Vicky back. Are you here, Vicky?
She is, but her audio isn't connected yet.
Okay. I just saw one. Oh, are any of you guys, and if you want, you could just raise your hand or something, but are any of you guys incorporating it into your LMS? I never did. As far as I know, you're not able to. It's a completely separate since it's web-based, but I didn't know if there was anyone. No, okay.
Yeah, our instructor goes in on her faculty page in VetTechPrep and then she manually imports grades each week for what they've done.
Yeah.
We do need to hear from you guys though. Sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I was just reading that. I was just going to read. There's a few comments and questions about taking readiness exams, and then instructor access.
I just wanted to say that we do want to hear everyone. Please feel free to share. You know, it's how AVTE does it. You all learn from each other. So yep. Please feel free. I think Stacy has her hand up again. So.
I'd like to ask a question that I saw in the chat. Resetting it, our understanding, and students have asked multiple times, they'll go through, complete 100%, and then they haven't been able to redo the questions. Is there a way to reset it once students have completed 100% of the questions so that they can continue to review those questions?
Is Vicky connected? From my experiences, they cannot. Once they answer the question correctly in the practice portion, then they go away. They don't see those questions again, which is why they have the 50% off if they wanted to do another subscription. All of those questions are going to come back to them, even though they've already answered them, but they will reset their subscription so that everything starts back at 0.
Vicky is not back on. However, I noticed that Steve unmuted himself.
Okay.
So I'm going to be the teacher in this scenario and call on Steve because you did unmute yourself. So,
so I think one of the big struggles for vet techs preparing for VTE and for teachers is that unlike all the other licensure exams, the students leave you and they don't take their tests sometimes for 6 months and they literally fall off a cliff. So one thing we've done with schools we work with is, we make it part of the deal is after the embedded class is key. You have to do that. Obviously, we were hearing from so many teachers how well that works. So what we usually do is they usually sign up for a longer period. After their class is over, the students can automatically get a reset if they want it. Some students don't want it, but I think it's a good idea. So that's how we do it. The real challenge, though, is somehow, Jennifer, was it you saying I harass them? That's my job. Yeah, the real challenge is keeping them moving on it. That's when we look at the usage for our service, and I bet you Vicky would say the same thing. It's just like what you teachers see. If it's not part of their course, they don't do it. And so a fundamental piece is you have to accountability is vital. You have to keep them moving on it. The biggest thing we see, and I bet those of you who've done this over the years have seen, is they'll do what they have to for the class, but then they don't do those time tests at the end. And the time tests are vital because it doesn't feel the same when you don't see the answers as you go. And so it's really important to get them comfortable with that. Typically, we work with people to recommend they're doing maybe like a test every Friday just to quiz themselves a little bit on the format. But that's a real challenge. How do you achieve accountability? I don't know that anybody has a magic wand for that, but clearly when people do the work, they do better. So thanks.
Oh, I see Bonnie raising her hand.
So we use it in our externship as well. I think like most of you do. And I think we get a 60-day subscription. It might be 90 days. The students have to complete at least 85% of it. And that's like 85% of the questions right. And every Friday I do assign them a 1-hour timed exam. And that was the only way to really keep people moving forward. When I have a lot of students, I don't really have time to go through and upload everybody's data, right? So for me, it'd be easier if I could get like class data. But in general, I have to assign that exam every week. And I have the students upload a screenshot of how they did as part of their accountability. And the goal I always tell them is I want to see improvement. I'm not looking for hundreds, right? I don't want you to spend time looking up answers. I just want to see improvement as the semester goes on. And that's how we use it. I just figure there must be something better, some better way to keep track of them.
I did just pull up my account, so I could, which is the faculty version, so I could show you the back end, except that there's student names there. So I don't think that's wise.
Probably not.
But I think Vicki has a tutorial where she can put you into a mock course so that you can see it from the instructor side. If I had thought ahead, I would have done some screenshots for you, but
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, somebody posted she does.
Yeah.
So I know we looked at all that because we were really interested in data, in comparing data, so and how to help students better in certain areas, and it's really, really good for that. So, and we are now comparing the data of their timed final exam to whether they pass or fail the exam.
So it sounds like a lot of you guys too, you're doing kind of a preparatory test in the beginning, just to kind of see where their baseline is at, and then having them go through the program. I think that's a great idea. I saw Vicki came back in.
She is in, yes. She's connected through her phone, so.
Are you there, Vicki?
Technology, right?
Right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
She looked like she was unmuting for a moment.
Are any of you guys using the AAVSB test? Also? Nod. I type yes in the chat.
We do make them aware of those, but we are not using those.
Yeah, I did the same thing. There's, it's amazing. There's so many resources out there for these guys to really get them ready for the VTNE. I mean, and it really, kind of warms my heart because I'm a dinosaur. So, I took the VTNE back in the early 1990s. And we didn't have any of this. I mean, I just literally went through my textbooks. I didn't have really any even preparatory textbooks for it. So it's just amazing with technology, the stuff that's out there for these guys, and it makes me happy.
And Kathleen asked about the time test. The time tests we are using are extra payments, and that is still paid for through the Perkins. So we pay for their subscription, and then we pay for one time test at the end, but it's all through Perkins. So it's not coming out of program budget, which is really nice right now.
I'm
Vicky,
here.
Here she is.
Yes.
I'm here.
Vicki, we had a question about accessibility, and I think it was specifically related to having a reader, or if readers work with the program.
Did you say for ADA compliance?
Yes.
Okay. As of right now, we don't have anything. We're the more requests we get, the easier it is to make a case for our development team to add something in. Right now, what we are rolling out in our next quarter release, I believe the next quarter or two release, is additional time on the exams. And that's what we have received a lot of feedback for. And we've been able to now finally establish that and get that in the works, but we don't have a specific reader. No, but that's something I definitely can take back to our development team and IT people and kind of see if we can kick that around and see what that looks like.
Vicki, there was another question that it came through earlier about Spanish speaking population. Are you guys going to be offering anything in Spanish?
I don't believe so. Currently, we're just in English.
Okay.
That's the first time I've heard actually of that. But again, it's something that we can I can definitely look into with our development team and kind of research that a little bit more.
Hey, Jen, I took a screenshot. So let me see if I can pull that up. And I took the students' names out of it. If I can get my screen to share.
As she's doing that, Vicki, there was some questions about people kind of wanting a virtual tour.
It's, we're working on that as well. That's something if you contact me directly, and I apologize, I'm in I have crappy service obviously right now, but certainly I'd be happy if anybody reached out to me directly at volson@vettechprep.com. I'd be happy to set up a Zoom call or a webinar and go through the program with you for sure. Both the student side and the faculty side.
So just so you can see, this is, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just an example of one of the classes and their progress on the practice questions. Now you see they're required to complete every one of the practice questions. So you can see most of these students did that. And then these are the practice exam questions, how many of those they completed as well. You can see when they last logged in, and our instructor is in here weekly to check on this. And then this is their mock exam. And this is what I go in, because I'm not the instructor for the course, but I will go in at the end. And like this student that got a 67 and these guys that were in the 60s, I would reach out to them and do some remediation individually with them and offer them some resources. And honestly, I tell them they're not going to pass if they don't do something differently before the exam. So I used to sugarcoat it and they didn't take me seriously, but when I say you are not going to pass with that score on the mock exam, they take it seriously. So that's part of the instructor view that you get to see. You can click the students' names where I screenshotted it out of them, but you can click on their individual names in that screen too, and then it gives you by domain and by small and large animal how they did.
Vicki, do you want to talk? There's a few questions in regards to cost.
Sure. Again, I don't have the pricing sheet in front of me, but we do offer discounts on educational purposes. So if schools are
That was the worst timing for her to get kicked off, huh?
I know.
Okay, she's coming back on.
Oh, good. I think it's also the more students you have,
Yeah.
you get a price break on it.
Correct. So we offer anywhere from a 5% discount to a 22% discount, depending on how many students and the length of the purchase agreement. So we offer 1, 2, and 3-year purchase agreements. And the biggest thing with the agreements is you agree to, or the school agrees to, a minimum purchase. And that's typically 5 in a year, 10 in a year, 25 in a year, 50 in a year, or over 100 in a year. And standardly right now, we only offer the discounts on our 60, 90, and 180-day subscription. We don't offer a discount on the 45-day subscription, and that's just because that really isn't enough time for students to be using the program in that amount of time. The 60-day is not advertised to students. The reason we took that off is because students were purchasing that 60-day subscription, and then they were purchasing a 30-day extension on top of that, making it a 90-day or 120-day, and they were actually spending more money rather than just purchasing the 90-day up front. The reason we left it on for schools is because we do have schools that are contracted with us, and for financial reasons, grant reasons, that sort of thing, 60 is what works for them, and we didn't want to pull the rug out from underneath schools that use that subscription. We typically recommend the 90-day, as that's the sweet spot for students to study for their actual VTE.
And then what about the accuracy of the questions? How often do you find that, somebody, and what if somebody finds something and says, wow, this is not right? How do you guys handle that?
Sure. We always encourage students to reach out, or faculty. Faculty have reached out as well and had questions about questions or questioned our questions. And we have a veterinary team that's set up to answer those questions. Our content is reviewed, but like I said, with over 3,000 questions in a very ever-changing industry that we're in, or field that we're in, sometimes we're not able to catch everything right away. Or different states have different policies and there's some confusion, and we're always happy to review anybody's questions. And a lot of times with the students, we had these in the last 2 days. There were 2 medical math questions, and the students didn't slow down and read the questions. So they were like, no, I don't think that's right. And it was like, what part of it don't you think is right? And let's kind of review this, and we'll go through with the student. And typically it's reminding them to slow down, change pounds to kilograms, and so on and so forth. But we're always open to help explain questions, remind them to slow down, or sometimes, we have to alter questions or change the wording. Again, we're always open to that. And to piggyback on that, we're always open to feedback. I think one of the greatest things about VetTechPrep, and I've been with the company, it'll be 8 years at the end of April, is that we want to hear your feedback. We're making this program for, number one, for your students to prepare for the VTE, and then secondly, we're making it for you guys, the faculty, and we want to make it work for you. Technology works a little bit slower than medicine does, so sometimes it takes a little bit of time to explain things to our developers, and to spec it out and to code it and put it on servers and whatnot. So it's not something that happens quickly, but it does happen. And so I encourage anyone who has used the program or is interested in the program or has seen the program. I mean, if you think that there is something that we can add that would make your life easier, please feel free to reach out and let me know. there's a lot of things that we've added to the faculty page and to the student side as well. And they've all been feedback recommendations. And we've been able to put that into our program and make it work for the students. So I always encourage that. The more specific you could be on the email, the better for me and our developers.
Do you guys have any breed ID?
We do
Pig
not.
breeds. I remember there being a pig breed on mine, and I did
will
not know
say-
it.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, every time I've emailed you or anyone else, you guys have always been so responsive and so helpful. So don't hesitate to reach out for them because they're really amazing to work with.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, you know, I'm a technician by trade. You know, I'm super passionate about getting, you know, your guys licensed, your guys students licensed, and getting them to complete and pass that finish line. I know it's so hard, you know, in the world that we're living in and COVID and so on and so forth. But, you know, I try to encourage students, you know, you're there, you've gone through this much of school, you know, you're smart. If you weren't smart, you wouldn't be here, and just push through till the end. So we're in it with you guys. We want to do as much as we can and be as helpful as we can as well.
Hey, Jen, I had a question that was direct messages to me, but I think others might have some input on it as well. And it was asking how we do our remediation. Do we do it broad spectrum or do we do it subject area? And we do it subject area. I do not do it for all subjects by any means. If a student scored low in the large animal dentistry section, I would refer them to somebody with more expertise in that area. You know, I would do my area of expertise. If they scored low in clinical pathology, they certainly would come to me for that. But I try to connect them with instructors that are specialists in those areas. I would, yeah.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. You know, again, I'm a large animal person, so I'm happy to help with that. But, you know, if they start asking me about, you know, gerbils and guinea pigs, that is not my forte. So I'll send them to our exotics vet. Anyone else? How about you guys with remediation?
I would love other ideas on remediation, how that's being done in other programs.
Or are you remediating? You know, either if they're scoring low on VTP or whatever source you're using, or if they come back and say, oh my God, I failed it, I don't know what to do. How are you guys helping these guys? Bueller?
I will say in regards to this, at AVTE last year, it came up at the program directors meeting that we ask AAVSB to release the scores and the domain scores for our students. And we did bring that to them to see if programs, because apparently on the vet exam, the schools do get the scores. So, and whether students passed or failed, so they could reach out to them to help with remediation. We took it to AAVSB at the meeting in September, and it was taken under advisement. So we will continue to ask that question.
Students kind of dropping off the map. Yeah, I would hear who passed. They kind of got real quiet when they didn't. I wouldn't hear much from those that didn't pass. But I look them up on our state website to see if they're credentialed or not.
That's what we do. I do have problems with our out-of-state students though, but most states I can find them. If so, that's how I'm comparing the scores as to who passed by looking on state websites to see if they became credentialed.
Sue's bold. She just asked.
I'll ask them too. And most of the time they'll answer me, especially if they passed.
Yeah.
It's the non-passers that.
And just to let you guys know, as well as your students, if they don't pass and they've completed 80% or more of that VetTechPrep, and they've taken their exam within 4 months of using VetTechPrep, we'll provide them with a free resubscription that they have up till 18 months to reactivate. If they complete under 50%, under 80%, then we'll provide them with a 50% discount on a new subscription as well. So we're very passionate, and we're, again, in this with you guys and with them to helping them succeed. So it's a great thing. Sometimes students don't know that, but I encourage, again, for faculty to let your students know that all they have to do is reach out to support, and we can definitely just need a copy of their scores, which will give us their name as well as the date that they took their exam. And then we can definitely set them up to study again in one way or another by giving them a free resubscription or a discount on a new one.
Are any of you guys having issues with students getting them to take the exam? So I'm in Arizona, I'm a non-licensure state. And so a lot of them are out there working and they don't save the money, and trying to get them to take the exam is sometimes like pulling teeth. I know, Trish, do you have that? Because I know you're in Florida, so you guys are also non-licensure.
Right. And our program does not have that problem, but other programs in our state are having that problem. So they're having trouble with their VTE scores because they don't have a large number of graduates taking the exam. I don't know why our program is not having that issue. They pretty much, I would say 90% of my students take the exam. So I'm not sure. Yeah. Maybe they're scared of me, which is fine.
Let them be scared. Oh, nice. Some of you guys have it included. Same with Zuku. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could never get it rolled into our tuition. So that's awesome.
We could never do that as well. So. And when I found out Perkins would fund it, I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
A question that popped up again is, how do people do remediation for their students? I know we already talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to just check again to see if anyone wants to share. Don't be shy. This is a judgment-free zone. We're all friends here.
Oh, good. Sue raised her hand.
Go, Sue.
Okay, so we don't require that they take any sort of prep. We just ask them and encourage them to practice with some sort. And we have a really high pass rate. So I usually, if I have one student that didn't pass, I'm lucky. Then I just, they usually come to me, or I reach out and say, so what happened? And then we just work together on what they didn't do well. And they'll tell me, I didn't do well in this section. Okay. So then but most of the time they're not here, they're somewhere else. So we work on it, or they come down and visit with me and we sit and work on it. Was it because of the time? Yeah, I got all freaked out. Okay, so let's practice. Let's do some of those things. Let's purchase some of those things. They probably should have done it beforehand. So I don't know that I'm much help, because like everybody else, it's after they've graduated. But usually if you lay it out there and act as a resource, they're desperate at that point. They'll come ask.
Right, and those students that don't pass do get their individual domain scores. The students that pass don't get per domain, but the students that do not pass do get per domain, so that they can see how they did. So I always, if somebody comes to me after and has not passed and wants some help, I ask them for that so that we can talk.
Do you guys see a trend on your weakest domains where there seems to be a continual struggle?
We definitely use that for evaluation of our program. So every time our students take it 3 times a year, because we graduate 3 times a year. So I have my little spreadsheet, and it has every testing cycle, how we scored in relation to the national average. And we talk about that as a faculty, and actually probably 6 years ago, we actually added a dental course because we continuously were scoring below the national average in dentistry. And now we're scoring about 5% above national average in dentistry. So
Nice.
we definitely look at those. And because we're both campus and distance-based, our VTE scores come separate for each program. So we compare how the distance students are doing versus the campus students versus the national average. So that's really helpful for program evaluation.
Yeah. Other comments, questions? Jan, emergency medicine. Yeah, and I would use the same thing. I would look at the domains and figure out where they were testing low. Same thing. It is really good when you're doing curriculum review or looking at your individual classes. I think it really helps.
I'm finding our pain scores, because pain is one of the newer domains, are all over the place, but it seems like the national average is all over the place. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that as well. So I don't know how to explain that, if it's the test, different questions on the test that are categorized as pain. Just seems our students do really, really well, or they do really, really poorly.
There's no middle ground. It's just
no. Yeah.
Well, I think we covered basically most of the questions that came in ahead of time.
I love Steve's comment too, about, test anxiety and study skills and things like that. So I think a large amount of us we know who's going to struggle. So it's how to get them to focus, to study, to get some extra help on those test taking skills. And I really encourage my students with accommodations to seek accommodations on the VTE, because they do offer accommodations. And those guys that think they can do it without the extended time or the quiet room is never a good idea for them.
Yeah.
Can I add something too? I'm raising my hand. I just want to let you guys know too that as far as the testing anxiety and whatnot, that's one of the reasons we created the readiness exam. Pre-COVID, our thoughts were you could take your class to a computer lab and actually monitor them, proctor them, give them an 8x10 piece of paper and a pencil, and have them take the exam on the computer. So they kind of got those anxiety bugs a little bit out of them as much as they could. So again, with COVID, our instructors are still using it sometimes that way, and other ways, as well. But that was our thought, is just to help students with that testing anxiety, because we hear so much about that, and how I've had faculty get back to me and say they have great students, scholarship winners, and they go into that room and fall apart. So the readiness exam, our readiness exams that are exclusive to schools who purchase on behalf of their students, are really geared to help with that.
So we are coming to the end of our time. Before I say a few final words, Trish, Jen, any final thoughts? Anyone, any final thoughts that you want to share?
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, thank you guys for coming. This is always fun, and it's kind of a preview as to the Philadelphia conference for 2022. Again, kind of using everybody as a sounding board and picking each other's brains and seeing what other people are doing, because I really do think it helps. So we appreciate you guys.
And when you have ideas for this, like this was a Facebook page comment that and everyone kept commenting on that we picked up on that people wanted to talk more about. We do have a hot topic planned. I think we're going to do it next month, right, Jess? That everyone it'll probably break record numbers for that topic. But anything like this, you want to do roundtables and open conversations, I think we learn the most from each other. So
Definitely.
Yeah, so
And
don't be afraid to suggest something if you guys think it's something.
Tammy,
yeah.
we're not saying.
Mum's the word. But you're getting warmer. But yeah, anything you guys think would be good to kind of utilize this. I mean, the Facebook group's awesome too, but this is, this is a nice different format as well.
It is. And if you're not comfortable putting a question or anything into the Facebook group, you can always just email help@avte.net and I'll pass the message along to Jen or Trish or whomever to see if we can get something going for this. Yeah. But this does not end the conversation at all. Please feel free to head back over to the Facebook page if you want. Follow up on anything we didn't get in a thorough enough response, or if you want to have a talk on test prep. The proposals have been extended into February 9th, and it's obviously a hot topic. So I see that message, Kathleen, I see it. And I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's definitely a different venue, and we appreciate hearing your voices, even if some of you are a little shy and just typed your messages.
And hopefully we'll see you in Philly.